to Q&A with S&A. I'm Andrea.
And I'm Shane.
And today we are very lucky to have in our podcast studio Trung, who is one of our senior managers and a shareholder of Aintree Group. And Trung, thank you for coming and joining us on the podcast today. You've been on Plant Grow REIT before, but your first time in the podcast studio with Shane and I, and
That's
ready
correct.
for a grilling today.
Yeah, in the hot seat.
In the hot seat. We got the spotlight on you, ready to.
Am I going to win some money at the end of this?
That depends. That depends. We're going to talk about a few things today, and one of them is going to be that we've known you for a long time, a lot longer than Aintree Group has existed. So tell us a little bit about when you first came to meet Shane, because I could tell the story, but you guys worked together. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, so it was a few years ago, I think, going back maybe 96.
96? Well, I started in 93, so it would have been maybe 3 years after. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, that could be right.
so I started at Web & Co. with Shane, who I think at the time you were partner there.
Not at
Not
that
yet?
stage. No,
Okay.
not at that stage,
Yes.
no.
By the time I left, you were partner.
Yes.
But, yeah, so that's where I met Shane. We didn't work directly together, but I did know of him and was very impressed from at the very start.
This is where he wants to win some money.
Yes. I mean, by the time I left, I think Shane was just before you were 30 possibly, and you were partner at Web & Co. there. So it just goes to show how quickly he sort of grasped the industry and progressed. And, yeah, that was very impressive for me.
So you were a young graduate accountant at the time?
Yes.
Yeah, and did you...
Sorry, I was an undergrad actually.
Okay,
so
okay.
I went through the Swinburne IBL program and I started working at Web & Co. through that before I finished. In fact, I think I finished my university degree in the last year while studying. So and then I kept on with Web & Co. after that.
Yeah, it's a good program, and we'll talk about that a little bit after we've gone through your early years. You started and you were undergrad. You then moved into finishing uni, the CA program. Did you do that while you were at Webs
I did,
as well?
yes.
Yeah.
So
same pathway as Shane, basically.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it probably it's changed these days, but at that time, a lot of the young accountants, when they sort of finished their CA, one of the things they wanted to do was travel overseas.
Yep.
And that was me.
Yeah. What was so in your mind you thought to yourself, I've got to go out and do this, because you're right, you weren't the only person in the cohort that you were part of that went overseas at the time, were you? There was a big group of you, and you all went to London, right?
The majority went to London, yes. So I think that's what actually gave me the idea, to be honest. I don't know what the partners at the time were sort of discussing behind closed doors, but there was, I think, after about a year I joined, about 3 or 4 left for London, and it was like, they sort of send messages back, and then you go, oh, okay, that sounds like an exciting thing to do. So, once I completed, I think it was pretty much 6 months after I left, when I completed my CA, I left for London.
Yeah. And you didn't go alone. You went with someone who you met at Webs, am I right?
Yes.
Is that the story? So, and she was also an accountant and did the same sort of thing, didn't she? She worked for Shane and then did her CEO program, and then you both decided to go over together, right?
We went over together, but it was a year apart. So that first year was a long distance relationship, and at the time I left, we weren't sure if we were able to do it. Yep. And it turned out well. We managed.
It turned out okay.
Yeah, it turned out okay. She finished. So at the time she hadn't finished her CA, so that's why Haley wanted to stay. Well, had to stay the extra year. Yeah. Completed a CA, and once she did that, we were still together. We managed that long distance relationship, and then she joined me after a year. Pretty much, it was exactly after a year.
Yeah. And what were you doing when you were in the UK? What sort of job?
Oh, it's. Again, I'm not sure if they probably do, but it's probably changed a lot. The jobs are varied. mostly investment banking, accounting, sort of financial reporting. So with these big banks over in London, it's kind of like a big machine, and sort of your role is part of like a small cog in that sort of big machine. So you have a very defined and narrow sort of job description, and so you sort of like did that reporting every day, and then just you sent it off to management or whoever, and they looked at it and repeats again the next day. So it's I moved around. So I was at UBS Investment Banking, and then RBS, Royal Bank of Scotland Bank, and Barclays Capital. So they're all very similar roles in that was reporting, month end particularly, but on a day-to-day basis, there was a lot of sort of like that repeat sort of work. So again, I'm not sure, that was 25, 30 years ago, so I'm not sure of how it looks these days, but because I do know that, after the financial crisis, there was the contraction of those kind of jobs, but because they're so big, I'm sure they're still around, like those kind of roles, but I'm not sure what they look like anymore.
I think the industry's changed a little as well, that, it was a big thing at the time when you went overseas, and Shane and I ended up not doing it because he was offered partnership, and that was what, kept us in Australia. But we always do talk about the fact that, that at the time, 25, 30 years ago-ish, that's what everyone did. Yes. They did their CEO program and then they headed off overseas. And some people went into investment banking, and some people got secondments from their jobs that they were working at, and, that it worked out differently. But I don't think the industry kind of does the same sort of thing anymore. I think that the UK sort of stopped taking so many accountants from Australia for some reason, and it doesn't work the same. But once you finished, you had, time to travel and stuff as well, which is probably one of the good things about working in the UK, isn't it? Like proximity.
That's right. The main draw card of it, obviously the learning experience. One of the things, I guess, I went over there to explore other sort of accounting roles, and I managed to do that. And I found that, these roles, like I said, it was, it's just a cog in this big machine. And I know that, well, I don't know actually, but I presume that these kind of roles don't exist in Australia because it's just different setup as well. Yeah. That's one thing I've probably learned. And then the other thing is, I guess it's a great base for the travelling. London being so connected, so close to so many, and there's so many connections in terms of flights as well. Cheap flights as well, Ryanair. Yeah. Shout out to Ryanair.
Maybe not.
No, maybe
don't
not.
Shout out to Ryanair.
No. Unless I want to sponsor it.
I mean,
true.
That's fine.
It provides such a good base for travel and discovering the world.
Yeah. Favourite places to travel when you were over there?
Oh, that's a tough one. I guess, the easy one is Paris, and I've been there a couple of times. But maybe more obscure ones, say Prague, and then just it depends on the experience as well, because sometimes you travel with friends, you might have a group of friends, and that creates a different experience, because even though the place is not fantastic, you're going with friends. It elevates it. Yeah. Greece is probably another one.
Okay.
Greece is a highlight.
The sunshine at least.
Yeah.
A bit warmer during summer, during winter, as well, down in Greece.
Greece, yes. The reason why I say Greece is because I went to a wedding in Santorini. So, like I said, it's about the event that you're going to, and that's sort of because I went for a wedding, and there was a lot of other people.
Special occasions. Yeah. While you were over there, obviously you said Hayley joined you, and we won't. Hopefully, one day we'll get Hayley on the podcast, but she's very busy flying around all the world and being a fancy pants, which we love. Things changed in your life, didn't it?
Yes.
When you were over there. Tell us a little bit about what happened while you were over in the UK. So obviously I'm alluding to Amelie being born, but tell us a bit about that and how that might have changed your perspective on what you were doing in life and what it was all about.
So I think we were there for about 3 years, and we found out we were expecting our first child. Yep. So it wasn't totally planned, as probably you can probably guess. Young couple.
Most of the best
overseas.
things are not totally planned.
Yes.
So just saying that in advance.
So that changed things quite a lot. And so being overseas without family, that was hard. So we decided to try to live in London with a small child.
Yep.
And for maybe the first year it worked.
Yeah.
We had a shared nanny with a family that lived nearby. We found them through, I don't know, Gumtree or something like that.
Yeah.
And that worked really well. But then after about a year, we sort of decided it was just too much without that sort of support network. So instead of going back to Australia to find that support network, we decided to go to the Cayman Islands.
Which is like, virtually further away from Australia than what you were in the UK.
So very random. And how it came about was one of Hayley's colleagues just came over from the Cayman Islands and said, why don't you try to live there and work there? And Cayman Islands being a sort of financial hub for hedge funds, we were able to find jobs there. Yeah. And so we thought about it without even actually flying over to the Cayman Islands to sort of see what it was about. We just, I would say on a whim sort of, just took the leap of faith and just flew over there. And I mean, Hayley secured a job initially. That was sort of a fundamental part of the move. And then just flew over there and sort of see how it went. And worked it really well.
And it was at a time I think it's important for us to say this in this podcast as well, that it was a long time ago. Like Emily is now, 17? So we're talking 17 years ago. I remember when we would talk to you guys on when you were over in the UK, and we had this giant computer screen and dial-up internet, and we were kind of like Facebook Messenger wasn't a thing, like you'd ICQ to try and talk to each other. It wasn't a time when you were still more connected to home, but it wasn't a time when you were super connected. Like now, if you had a baby in the UK, you would easily be able to FaceTime with all the family and get the support that you needed. Yep. But it was at a time when none of that existed, like as an easy option. So you'd have to call your parents and all of that sort of stuff. So it wasn't ezy, was it?
Yes, I think Skype was around at the time, if anyone remembers Skype. But
what happened to that?
I think it just originally sort of just came in, or maybe a couple of years. But I do remember it being around. But I guess with my mother, she didn't really use Skype. Yeah. So it was always a call. Yeah.
And so it wasn't the decision to move from the UK to the Cayman Islands was like you weren't doing it because you were going to be connected to family any more easily than you were, but there were obvious reasons, weren't there? Like, the environment that you were in, the access to support from, people that you could pay to support the family and stuff like that too, wasn't it?
Yes. So when I said there wasn't any support around, I guess that was one of the reasons. But at the overriding probably decision-making thing was we weren't ready to come back to Australia because, we sort of was happy to live and experience the world. And so the Cayman Islands sort of gave us the chance to explore North America.
Yeah.
And we knew from Hayley's colleague that there's other support sort of that you could get. Yeah. And what I mean by that was the sort of help that you get in the Cayman Islands was financially viable for us to do it.
Yeah. And I think that's important as well, is that, you don't, it's not always about family support. Sometimes you can work out other means of support. And I know that you guys always said to us that the people that you had as part of your support network in the Cayman Islands were really beautiful people. Like they just cared about you guys and your family and your growing family, because you did grow your family while you were there too.
So I guess the Cayman Islands, there's a large expat community. So it's in the financial industry, I guess. So once you establish, or once you get there and you work, you quickly form a network. Yeah. And so that was part of the support. The other support was that you can obtain help from. There's a lot of, expats from Jamaica who you would hire and they would help you out. And this is probably what you're talking about. And so our help, her nickname was Lola. She was a beautiful person, and we actually formed a close friendship bond where we still keep in contact with her. So we might not speak to her for about 6 months a year, but then occasionally we might get a call from her. And and it was a beautiful sort of relationship, and she looked after Emily. And then I think after about a year, we had our second child, Olivia, in the Cayman Islands, and she was fundamental in providing that support to us.
Travel, again, you said like North America was a place that you could travel to from the Cayman Islands, because I wonder if people actually know where the Cayman Islands are, because it's not, you know, if you're not a part of a financial sort of community or with that sort of sense, it's not the sort of place that people would just say, oh, I'm going to the Cayman Islands for a holiday, is it? It's like it's a different place.
I think they get it confused with the Canary Islands as well, because that's Canary, similar thing. I'm not sure of a tax haven, but I think one of the British islands is a tax haven. I can't remember which one. Maybe it's that one. But so Cayman Islands, it's funny because you don't really hear about it except for in movies. So whenever there's a
Wolf of Wall Street,
Wolf of Wall Street itself, I think Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, they mention it. There's a raft of movies that anytime they talk about hiding money, it's they mention the Cayman Islands, which, you know, it can be true, I guess, because, you know, you'd be naive to think that it doesn't happen. But what I can say for the Cayman Islands is that they do have a strong regulatory framework, and that's part of the reason why it's a popular place to set up funds. They do have that regulatory framework set up for it. So all the big four accounting firms are there and they audit. So it's, in some ways, I would say it's far from the truth, but I think we'll be naive to say it doesn't happen. So I'm going to leave it at that.
and it's in the Caribbean, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So the Cayman Islands is nestled between Cuba and Jamaica. So it's like a triangle. So there's 3 islands, but the main island's Grand Cayman.
Yeah. And the weather is a little different to the UK.
Very different to the UK. And it actually sort of tricked us a little bit, because in the UK, raising a child, we thought it was cold and, you know, the long winter nights didn't make it really appealing to go outside and to the park and what have you. Moved to the Cayman Islands thinking beach, weather, yes, fantastic, but it turns out that during the day it's too hot. So between maybe you've got like a small window in the morning between maybe 8 and 10, and then between 10 and 4 o'clock, it's too hot to really play outside unless you're going to the beach. So then, that's why I mean when we got tricked. It's not actually
a different environment, but not necessarily any easier.
It's not like Australia where you can go to the park, you know, on an autumn day and spend a couple of hours there with the young kids and, you know, play. And that's one of the things that Australia is fantastic for, particularly Melbourne with all the parks around. You look up on Google Maps and, you know, within a couple of 100 meters, you'll be able to find something.
Yeah. And how long were you in the Cayman Islands for?
I believe it was 3.5 years.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
and then the decision to then come back home after that?
Well, the decision was made partly because Emily, our first child, was about 5 years old, so she was close to be school age. So then we decided we had to make a decision whether she starts school in Cayman Islands or we go back to Australia. So, and then on top of that, I think we were away from Australia for 8 years, so it just felt right. That was the two main factors.
When you came back to Australia, was there a culture shock? Like, what had happened? Like, people often say, I've been away for a while and my family and my friends have all moved on without me and all of that sort of stuff. What happened when you guys came back? How was the experience for you?
Well, the city of Melbourne actually, there were so many changes because I guess I grew up in Richmond, worked in this, went to the city quite a bit. Having said that, we sort of when we travelled back and visited Melbourne, we did see some of the changes, but I think the biggest shock was all the changes. It's particularly traffic as well.
Yes.
Coming from the Cayman Islands, where you could drive north and south in about 10 minutes, or the whole island in 30 minutes. There was traffic in the morning at peak, but anything after that was pretty easy. You can get anywhere pretty quickly. So the biggest culture shock was the traffic, the increase in traffic. And with the Cayman Islands, it's 60,000 people. It's not very big. When you go to a big city, there is definitely a change in, I don't know, it's just a perspective. Yeah.
And what about for the kids? How was life for them? Because obviously they'd gone from, sunshine and hot and all of this, and then they've come home and family again and people that they may not have known very well. Did they adapt quickly?
That's a good question. It's been about 10, 12 years now. I would say that with traveling with young kids, they adapt pretty well. And if you ask them if they remember anything, they probably wouldn't. That's the thing. So I think that transition was easy enough. It was good to, I guess, make connections with family members. That's probably the biggest thing. My nephew, they hadn't, Olivia's formed a really good, close relationship with my nephew, Marcus. So that was probably the biggest thing. The family connection, family, friends and what have you. After a while, you just build that up again. But it was good to come back for the family.
Now, I said to you earlier on that, we'll talk a little bit about Hayley because she is a high flyer. She started in the same sort of program at Webb's as what you did, and then she went on to huge things, and she still is doing huge things. And as the dad in the relationship, and not necessarily always the politically correct way of saying things, but you've kind of been the stay-at-home dad, haven't you? Like you've taken a lot of that, what normally would happen from a mum perspective, haven't you? Like,
yes. So one of the reasons why I wanted to join the Aintree Group was I could go part-time. So, sorry, I forgot to mention that. So we had Emily in London, Olivia in the Cayman Islands. Our third and last child, Sophie, was born in Australia. So she was born
international family.
So that was part of the reason. I guess when we came, there was a large gap between Olivia and Sophie. I think it's what is it? I'm doing my maths now. 6 years. So. Part of the reason was like we've had 2 children overseas. Should we should have a children? So she was born in 2017, and that was part of the reason why I joined Aintree Group because I wanted to go part time and help. As you alluded to, Hayley is quite a high flyer, and her job takes a lot of. There's a lot of pressure there. So one of the reasons I wanted to join Aintree Group was take that pressure off and go part time and have that extra day just to do the family things, and we didn't want Sophie to be in sort of care for 5 days. So that's what we did.
You've been with us for a while now, and as we said, you knew Shane and I from before that. When you tell us a little bit about the story of how the connection was made again after you came back, and those conversations, because we hung out with each other overseas and done all sorts of fun stuff, and then all of a sudden Trung's working for us. So how what went through your mind at that point? Was it these guys are fun and I like them and I want to come work for them?
No, I wouldn't do that one.
Was it this seems like an easy option? What went through that? What was the conversations that you and Hayley had at the time?
Well, so the conversation was we needed to do something different, and I wanted to go part-time. As you said, we've sort of always been connected in some way or another. I knew how Shane worked, how he operated. As I said earlier at the start, I was inspired by him. And the fact that he sort of went off and started a firm by himself, and I knew he was very big on sort of adopting new technology and doing things differently. So that's what sort of drove me to sort of explore that path. Yeah.
Yep. Senior manager and recent shareholder. I say recent because it is reasonably recent in the 20-year history, but 2 years. What do you want to try and achieve at Aintree Group? Because, it's a big step to become a shareholder in any business.
Yep.
And there's lots to do. So what are the things that you think that are, Trung's projects that he is looking to bring to the firm in the next sort of 5 years?
The next 5 years, I would like to inspire the team, lead the team, I guess, and sort of develop myself even, push myself, because one of the things is if you're not sort of innovating or learning, then you're staying still. So that's something I'm looking forward to do, and leaving a legacy of the team looking up to me and saying, yes, he's inspiring, just like Shane.
So I was going to say, you're up for some more software changes and stuff, Trung, or should we just slow down a little bit on that?
Yes.
That was a non-obligatory yes. That was a yes to both of the questions.
I just heard that he liked the innovation.
He likes software changes, and yes.
So that means constantly
lots
changing
more
the software
changes.
Yeah, correct.
He said.
Well, I guess one of the things I like to put on video is this. This is something I've coined. I guess it's a take on an old saying, but. There's 3 things certain in life, and that's death, taxes, and changes at Aintree Group. So, because I understand that, then yes.
I think on that note, we might let Trung go back to work and thank him for his time and for sharing a bit of his history with you, Shane, and his time with Aintree Group, and for sharing the little snippets about your journey towards Aintree Group and where you've come from and the things with your family. There are so many stories there, Trung, and it'd be I reckon if we just put a camera in your office and let you talk the stories, there's probably a big book of stories there for you and Hayley that you could share at some point. But thank you for coming in and sharing this. And we'll probably do a follow-up on this because there's a few more questions I've got to ask.
Okay. Thanks for having me there.
Great.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us for this episode of Q&A with S&A. You'll get a chance to see a couple of the other shareholders in episodes to come. So thank you for joining us today.